All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Y&T and Friends Vinyl Talk. I'm Brian Foster, and it is my pleasure to have Mr. Tim Durling back on the channel. Tim, how you doing today?
Doing really good, Brian. This is thanks for having me on again. It's always a pleasure to talk Y&T, and I really think that this is a discussion that there's a lot to talk about for such a relatively short release. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Tim and I we're gonna spend this time talking about this album right here, Y&T's Open Fire.
Oh, hype sticker. I don't think I've seen that before.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that hype sticker here in a minute.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so
So
as most of you probably know, Tim put out this book last year. Down for the Count, the Y&T album thing. And he and John the Music Nut, who was also on this channel earlier, um, did a really cool deep dive series on all the Y&T studio albums. They touched on Open Fire in the Down for the Count episode, but I really wanted to get Tim on here to where we could actually deep dive Open Fire, Y&T's first live album. So I guess Tim, we'll kind of start there. We just kind of tell me about your first time with Open Fire, when you came aware of that and when you got that.
yeah, this is great. I love reminiscing like this. So summer 1990 is when I got into Y&T, and then it was a matter of trying to find as many of the albums as I could, which, as I've said many times, was not easy. So I
Yep.
had to travel down into the state of Maine to find any amount of them, which is where I did. But so this would have been September of 1990. So this would have been my parents and I went down. It was like my birthday, so they said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to go to a certain Bangor, Maine, to be specific, home of Stephen King." But I always did well. They're finding like deeper catalog stuff. I'd already been there earlier that summer, and I that's where I found Black Tiger and Rock We Trust and Contagious, which was, I couldn't find any of those around here. And at that this stage in time, I would have been 15 going on 16, and I didn't know where any used music stores were. I mean, certainly didn't have a license, and I was at the mercy of, your
Yeah,
standard
sure.
music stores and department stores,
Yep.
which was pretty. It was good. I look back on it now, it was actually pretty good. But when you get to a band like Y&T, a little more obscure, not so easy. So we went down there, and so this trip in September it was really successful as far as Y&T were concerned. Um, Something that I found that I didn't know was out was the best of 81 to 85. I bought that cassette, which that was great because that's the first time I heard any of the Earthshaker stuff. It's the first time I heard, obviously, like Beautiful Dreamer. And it gave me a little bit of information. For one thing, that's when I found out what Y&T actually stood for. I didn't know that.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I bought during that trip, I found this cassette here, the American version of Open Fire, the very distinctive looking A&M cassettes with that sort of beige colored cassette. And the cool thing about it, oh, you got a
This one's
promotional
actually
cassette.
a promo cassette.
Yeah. So this cassette came with an order form you could cut out
Yeah,
to
we'll
to
we'll
to,
we'll,
to
we'll get
order
into
something.
that.
But during that same trip, I remember that there was another store that specialized in videos. Like they sold videos and movies, and the only music they sold were soundtracks, and they also sold video games. It was really cool. I want to say it was called Suncoast, and I don't know if it was a chain,
Yeah, so we had
but
Suncoast here in the U.S. Yep,
okay, so
absolutely.
so that
Yep.
was like okay. So I looked through the music videos, and lo and behold, I found this,
Yep.
which I still have. I don't even have a VCR anymore, but I can't part with it.
I have that as
So
well. I
yeah,
didn't
so
bring it up here to show, but I
no, but
it's
it
it's
did
on the
come out
rack
in
back there.
yeah, it did come out in 1985. So this is the
Yep.
first time I got to see any live Y&T stuff. I wish it was full length, but I digress. So yeah, that was the first time that was the first time that I owned Open Fire on any form. So I was getting like some of the songs on Earthshaker, was hearing the live version, studio version for the first time, and as we know, Open Fire has a interesting track listing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I
Yeah.
was so into the band, like just wanted to know more and more about the band. I was just eating everything up. So it was just another Y&T album to add to my collection.
Yeah. Yeah. So as I've, mentioned before on here that, I got into LNT in 83 with Mean Streak. So, from Mean Streak to In Rock We Trust to Open Fire, I was there day one on Open Fire, and I was excited when I found out that Open Fire was a live album. And I mean, I just spoiler alert, I love this album. I played this cassette to death when it came out, right? But it, as it got older and kind of reflect on this, I remember this, we'll talk, you mentioned the hype sticker earlier. So talk about this hype sticker. So it talks about featuring, right, the new single Summertime Girls, right?
Yeah, live versions of Go for the Throat Forever 25
All
hours
right.
a day. Yeah.
So I got in 83 Mean Streak. So I see this and I see Go for the Throat and I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
25
Yeah.
hours a day? Never heard of it,
Yeah.
So to me, it's interesting that, I mean, I kind of get what they're talking about. Hey, there's some new songs, like, a new song and then an old song. But, if you're trying to
It's
attract new buyers and stuff like that, especially with the single Summertime Girls, you know, and we'll get a track listing here too, but,
Well,
where's
why doesn't it have Mean Streak? Why doesn't it have Don't
Don't
Stop
Stop
Running?
Running?
Why doesn't it have
Yes,
Lipstick and Leather? Like the songs that
exactly.
had been out, yeah, there's nothing from Mean Streak or In
No.
Rock We Trust on there. Now, I think we've talked about this before. I think I know why they did that because those albums were probably out of print or at least not as common. So it was a way to, I guess, generate, but I don't know. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I didn't think much of it at the time, but over the years, I'm like, this is a kind of an odd little release.
Yeah, and
It's
then,
not just,
and you showed the cassette version. I mean, this is what came with the
yeah, yeah,
LPs,
yeah.
right? So,
And this was at the time when music videos, like home videos, were, what's the price on there? Because I remember they were ridiculously expensive.
1995.
Okay, that's not bad. But I remember like when the first bunch of them came out in
Oh yeah,
like
they're $30.
81 or more. Like I remember like, Rush Exit Stage Left or April Wine Live in London, like any of those really early ones were like 60, $70. Like nobody
Yeah.
who had money, like what teenager had money for those
Right.
those
Yeah.
things? That
No.
was like
Yeah.
an extra thing. The cool thing about Open Fire is I remember too, like I said, it was harder to find stuff. And when I started really collecting vinyl, the first Y&T vinyl I ever managed to track down, I found Black Tiger and Mean Streak at a pawn shop. And the next thing I found was actually the Open Fire record. So this one I've got here is just your standard
Yeah.
Canadian. And now I noticed something on the sleeve that you held up. Is it signed? Seems to
Oh,
have markings on it.
yeah. It's Dave signed that for me.
Cool.
That was at
But like
a show in Vegas where we did the sound check and stuff with them. So
I'm like, I don't see, there's not, that silver squiggle is not on this.
no, it's not.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, so yeah, it's an interesting track listing. I'm
Yeah.
like I said, I was just eating it up at the time, but over time you look at it and you go, I think subconsciously I wondered why there was nothing from Mean Streak or In Rock We Trust on it, but I just kind of shrug your shoulders. It's not like I've got any source of finding out why. You just kind of go with it
Yeah.
and enjoy the music.
So if I remember correctly from the wonderful On with the Show documentary,
Hmm.
um, that after In Walk We Trust, they gave, I guess, A&M some songs for the next album, and that they didn't like any of them, and that their manager, Scott Borre, right? Is it Borre?
Yeah, or Bourré. I think it's Bourré, but I'm
Yeah,
not.
Borre.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, is actually the one that suggested to the label, well, why don't we do a live album? You said you're
Right.
interested in live. I mean, they just released or they were releasing the video. So they agreed to that. So a question for you is like, should Open Fire have been this?
It should have been, yeah. I think that would have been a start. It should have been more unified. Like usually at least have the same title. Um, like I mentioned, Rush Exit Stage Left, that came out on home video, slightly different than the album, but it was same artwork, same title. There was some uniformity to it. This doesn't seem to have any of that. I'll give A&M some slack because this was still early days of home videos. I actually wasn't aware that it was a thing until the Bon Jovi "Slippery When Wet" the videos came out in '87. I mean, that was my favorite band and everything to do with Bon Jovi. And then it was like, oh, you can actually buy a tape that's got the videos that you can watch anytime, and it's got other videos. And like this was a new concept to me, but obviously it had already had been going on. Um, Real quick story: buddy of mine also sent away to get the San Francisco home video, and it came,
Yeah,
and it's fine. But the label, I remember this. The label on the tape itself
yeah.
said "sticks caught in the act." Which
Whoops.
of course was another A&M act,
Here,
but
yep.
it had the right show on the tape. But yeah, anyway, just made me think of that.
Well, one of the reasons I bring that up is, also in '85 and, around the time of the release of Open Fire was Scorpions Worldwide Wide Live,
Yeah,
which also had an accompanying video.
yeah,
And then later on that year, you had Iron Maiden's Live After
Live
Death,
After Death. Yeah,
which also had an accompanying video.
yeah.
So,
So why was this different? Yeah, that's it. I
yeah.
mean, there are a lot of the same. There's a lot of the same songs, but well, actually, no, not really. There really aren't. I mean, because yeah, Live at the San Francisco Civic is pretty heavy on. So it's got Hang 'em High, Lipstick and Leather, Don't Stop Running, Mean Streak, Rock and Roll is Gonna Save the World. It's pretty heavy on those last two
Well, yeah,
albums.
I mean, it's basically the In Rock We Trust tour. I mean,
Yeah, and
that's the first tour I saw them with when they opened
yeah.
for Twisted Sister and
I think this was filmed. They were in the middle of like Lita Ford was the opener, Y&T
right.
was a special guest, and Twisted Sister was the
Sister. Yep.
headliner. So
Yep.
this is like a 60-minute version of what was probably a
Yeah. It was
70.
on, they aired it on MTV at the
Yeah.
time.
Um, Probably a 75, 80-minute show, right? Like I'm sure they
Right.
cut some songs,
Yeah.
but um, yeah, it is kind of weird. And yet there is let me see now. Let me look at the back of the record here. Okay, so there is some. It's just so weird. So you see the back cover photos, right? And
Yep.
obviously you've got the fireworks going off from that looks like from the San Francisco Civic because it looks like Dave's got the pink
Yeah.
jumpsuit on.
It's the
The
same
rock
set
and roll's
there in
gonna,
that
yeah.
picture. Yep.
So those pictures of the band, well, here they are
Yeah.
on
Absolutely.
here.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. The more you look into it, the less it makes sense.
Right. And I know they
And
did, two special shows in Palo Alto in April
yeah,
of
yeah,
'85.
yeah.
Um, I reached out to some people. And you look at like Setlist FM, they don't have the song listings for those two shows. So I'd be interested to know what exactly they played because obviously they played Summertime Girls live that night, which they
Yeah,
hadn't been doing.
right.
And obviously, songs like 25 Hours a Day and Go for the Throat, which they had not been doing.
Yeah.
So it was like two special shows, which great, but they had to have played other things. I'm sure they
For
played
them,
Lipstick and Leather,
for
Don't Stop Running.
yeah,
You
for
know,
them to have brought out a mobile recording, you might as well record the whole thing. So God only knows if it exists anymore, but it was probably in a vault.
right? Now here we
Now
go on the
some of
fire
it
again,
now
right?
now now same some of it came out, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll get to that. Some of it came out on a deluxe edition, which is the recommended one. But
yeah,
yeah, how great would it be to have an expanded, completely because I mean it's a live album it's not, it's more like a live EP because it's really
Yes.
7 songs. One
Yes.
of them's a studio song. It's a, the 25 hours a day is cool because I I love how Dave introduces it as something from yesterday and
Yesterday and
today.
today.
So double meaning.
Yep.
It could mean that's what the band was called back then, or it could mean that was the name of the album. And that was, I mean, by that time, those first 2 albums, the London albums, were hopelessly out of print,
Oh
right?
yeah, no, that was the
Like
first time I ever heard that song.
so to the point where this was around the time I think that the fan club was offering that cassette
Yes. Right.
with the first 2 albums on it. So it was
Yep.
great that they resurrected it. I like how they brought the chorus in sooner. I
Oh
like the
yeah, no, it's a
arrangement of
yeah,
because when I first got the first album, I'm like, it's obviously it's the same song, but I'm like, huh, they're backing off on the chorus. That's such a great chorus, and I think they got it right when they did it live. It's like let's do that sooner and let's do it again.
right.
Um, Go for the throat. Okay, so I remember trying to piece things together in my little 16-year-old pea brain. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, based on best of 81 to 85, I'm like, okay, well, Go for the Throat must be from their second album,
Yeah.
which I didn't know
Yeah, right.
what it was,
Yeah.
but I knew that the first album was obviously self-titled. Uh, and then I knew that Earthshaker was the first A&M one, so I'm like, it's got to be from something. It's like trying to figure out when I first got into Whitesnake, it was like trying to figure out who was who in Whitesnake. Because I used to get John Sykes and Adrian Vandenberg mixed up.
Yeah, they kind of look alike.
Tall,
Yeah.
tall guys with
Yep.
blonde hair. I used to get Ainsley Dunbar and Cozy Powell mixed up.
Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just I look back on it fondly now, but
Yeah.
there were a lot of mysteries, and that the hype sticker like that, it's innocuous enough, but it also provides it leaves you with more questions than it provides information.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, it really didn't register that way. I just, and I listened to it. I mean, I loved that song "Go for the Throat," and I
Yeah, it's
loved the
great.
25 hours. I mean, just I didn't care
Yeah,
where it came from. I was just
yeah,
like, these songs are awesome,
yeah,
right? But it did leave me wanting more, right? It is like you're saying, it's like an EP, so
yeah. It's
why not a, double why not a double LP album? Again, money probably with
Yeah. Well,
A&M.
I know that live albums, double live albums really were more of a 70s thing. But like you
Yeah, but you
said,
got you got Scorpions
Scorpions and
and
Iron
Iron
Maiden,
Maiden that
they
year,
were
same
both,
year.
yeah, they were both doing very, very well at
Yeah,
that
no,
time.
they're
So, and
definitely
I
more
think
popular.
and I think at that time the record company's idea was probably this will buy us some time before their next album. It'll
Right.
give fans something to buy.
Yes.
Um, but
But this
in
is
the
what
case of
A&M was doing too.
it was, but it's all it's almost like any time that A&M would do something, it would be like the other companies were doing, but with an asterisk. That'd be something that just kind of goes off course a little bit. So
Yeah.
you've got Open Fire, okay, that's perfect
Oh
set
yeah.
opener.
Yep,
And then
absolutely.
you've got 2 songs, one brand new and then one very old for them, but both pretty obscure. Most people are not going to be familiar with those songs. Then you've got Rescue Me, which was a big radio hit for them. So then that's it. That's side one. You flip the record over, you've got a brand new studio song that sounds nothing at all like anything else on this album.
No.
Then it goes back into the set with Forever, which is
Yep.
for me, it's weird to hear that not ending a set, but they
Yeah, they
kind of
usually that's usually towards the end, if not the
yeah.
last, the
Yeah.
second, third to last. Yeah.
So then Barroom Boogie, and then I Believe in You. All very good. Like I Believe in You. I love obviously the live. It's always cool to hear what Dave does because it's
Yeah.
never quite the same solos.
Yeah. Barroom Boogie to me, thinking back now is one where that's where one from, In Rock We Trust or
Oh,
Mean
look,
Streak or something like that should
I've
have.
had more. I've had people give me so much grief for this. That has never been one of my favorite Y&T songs, Barroom Boogie. If I
No,
was at a
I
show, I'd be screaming my head off, singing along. It's just this is if they're limited to this many songs, yeah, put Mean Streak in there.
yeah.
Put Lipstick and Leather in there.
And
Like put a song.
yeah, honestly, I don't think it's one of Dave's favorite songs. I mean, I
Yeah.
think I told this story before, but it was, when I went to a show and they were asking for requests and stuff like that, and Mike started playing the intro to Ballroom Boogie, and Dave turned around and goes, "No, we're not playing that." So
Wow. Wow.
I'm like, okay, well, I guess he doesn't like that one. But I
Um,
mean, they still do it to this day. So
yeah, it's always, it seems to be a crowd favorite. It's all kind of been beyond me why that is, but I guess it's just simple to get it. See, to me, if you're going to do a song like play alcohol, bring that back, you know?
yeah,
Like some because who couldn't sing along alcohol? That should be a barroom staple that of
yeah,
like bar bands. But
yeah.
it's not high art, but it would be something to say that they dug back further. Anyway,
No,
but
that
yeah,
song needs
but
to be Mean Streak or Don't Stop Running, Lipstick and Leather, or something like that.
well, again, so the whole Summertime Girls saga,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. Let's get
the
into
fact
that.
that it's on two albums, a prospective buyer, I've said this, you're not likely to make your first purchase from a band a live album, even if you do really like the one song that you heard and you look at these
No,
other titles you've never seen before. But if somebody who was kind of half paying attention and watched MTV really liked Summertime Girls, picked this up and went, what else is on this? Oh, Mean Streak. Oh,
yes.
Don't
Don't
Stop
Stop
Running.
Running.
I'm
Yes,
buying this because it would be the
that's
closest thing to a greatest hits.
that's
they
my
could have
point.
they could have moved a lot more copies of this because they're coming off their most successful
Yes,
album. Like at that
exactly.
point, they were poised,
Yes,
right? They were poised from the outside. If you were just kind of outside looking in, it's like, oh, okay, this whatever they put out next, this is going to do it because the momentum's there. It's building, it's building, it's building. No, uh, leave it, leave it to
yeah. And look,
leave.
I really don't mind Summertime Girls being on there as far as like a studio version. I think
No,
it should be the
I
I think it should be the last
Me
song.
too. Yeah, it breaks up the flow, especially if you're listening to the CD.
Yes.
It really breaks up the
So, I
flow.
mean, if you think about, I mean, the one that comes to mind, right away is like Journey's Capture,
Oh yeah, and
right?
I love The Party's Over. That is a
Right. And
great song.
it's the last
But it
song.
wouldn't have made any sense to put it as the first song on side one.
Exactly.
So so this is
Yep.
the UK 12-inch single for Summertime Girls, and you can tell that it's from Open Fire. It's got a live shot, and
Yeah.
also, I mean, here's something I didn't discover till many years later. I didn't know Open Fire had two different covers.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you've got the UK cover there too.
All right.
Um,
So which one do you like better?
you know, I it's really, I mean, I've got a nostalgia for the American one, but I do think that the UK one's better. I mean, it's called Open Fire. Um,
I love this. I think it's
yeah, but I mean, there's
I'm
nothing
not a
wrong
fan
with
of
the
the other
original
one.
cover.
So
But knowing that it exists, it's like, well, I gotta have it.
oh yeah,
Everything
no,
else,
I
everything else is exactly the same.
like
Uh,
if you guys haven't seen the episode posted before, I go through all the vinyl versions of Open Fire, and we go through all those European ones with that different cover. So
yeah, I even had to
so,
buy this just to
yeah,
the Majestic Rock version just to get this cover on a CD. So,
yep,
um, you know, but yeah, but I digress. Yeah, the version, the placement of "Summertime Girls." Okay, it's a new song. I mean, of course, people know if they've watched any of our shows. It's talked about in my book, but I mean, some A&M rep heard the song,
yeah,
did not like it,
no,
kicked the tape across the parking lot, and then another rep heard it or heard a live version of it because they
yes,
started
the
playing it
live version,
live and goes, wait, what song is that? And he said, that sounds like a hit.
right?
You got to put that out. So it's almost like it was the whole thing was rushed.
Yeah, because I think Dave
Um,
mentioned that in the documentary that
yeah,
they actually started playing it live, and that's when that other rep heard that, and
yeah.
he's like, "We got to
It
get
was
you in the studio and cut that right now."
yeah, yeah, and obviously that led to them working with Kevin Beamish for a couple of albums.
And then when they released this to radio too, talk about another hype sticker.
I've never
It
seen that.
says it says from the forthcoming album, Open Fire.
Yeah,
So
forthcoming. Okay.
doesn't say
That's
live,
interesting.
right? So
Yeah. Hmm.
I mean, okay, their new album's called Open Fire. It's got a new song on it. Like, it's not,
Yeah, then you get it. And, wait, is
yeah,
this live? And
right.
yeah. Um, yeah. I've also got this, which you probably have. This is a
Yeah,
UK. This is the
yeah,
live open fire, and it's
Open
got
Fire.
so on the back of this, it's got Go for the Throat.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got Go for the Throat, and it's got live version of Summertime
Sometime
Girls.
Girls. Yeah.
And it says Go for the Throat, taken from the
From
forthcoming
Big
A&M
Album,
album and cassette Open
Open
Fire.
Fire. Yep.
Release date July 1985. So, and that's interesting too, because like that timeline thing is like, when did these things actually come out? Because yeah, Summertime Girls peaked. I
Yeah,
know
this
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 because
came
I
out
just did
what,
a
June, like June 24th or something like that,
yeah,
85.
and I know that like Lance and I did an episode where we actually counted the Billboard Hot 100 from it was August it was August 23rd, 1985. Now, did I do it on purpose? You're darn right I did it on purpose.
Sure.
Because this is my one chance to
At
mention,
Y&T, yeah.
yeah, on the Billboard singles chart, the week that it peaked at 55. So by September, it had probably completely fallen off the chart. Um, so I mean, it did well, 55. At that time, that means that reporting radio stations, that they reported in what songs they were playing. That's how the charts were determined. Much different than it would become later, where you had
Yeah.
like six
Sound
stations
scan, yeah.
determining everything, right? But that means that there were probably a lot of stations throughout the United States playing that song.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I think it should have been top 10. I think it was catchy enough to be one of the hits of the year, like big hits of the year, in a and appealing to obviously a much wider audience than the hard rock heavy metal audience that Y&T were sort of, you know,
Well, yeah,
along,
I think it did, right? I mean, anytime that I talk about Y&T and people give me that look like, who are they? And then,
yeah.
well, you ever hear that song Summertime Girls? Like, oh yeah, I know that song.
If
That
they know, yeah, if they know anything at all by Y&T, it's
yes.
going to be Summertime
Summertime.
Girls. And yeah, and like I've said many times, I think that Summertime Girls should have been their jump. Like it
Yep.
should have been there across the
Yeah.
board, get a lot more people introduced to the band, even if they didn't like anything else. They would agree for one moment, yes, they have a great song.
Yeah.
Uh, so, but they put it on this live album, and to me, like not being tied to a studio album when the single was first out probably hurt more than anything. Like not having more recognizable songs on the live album hurt, but I think what hurt
Yes.
more was that song not being tied to a studio album because like I said, people do not normally buy. I know there's always exceptions like Kiss Alive, there's always
It's Alive
exceptions,
too,
but
yeah.
yeah, but for the most part, as for a band breaking through, man, people like to have a studio. They like to have
Yeah,
an album they
so
can go, like Stay Hungry or Metal Health or something
yeah,
like that,
so
right?
kind of speaking of that, I guess, you know, curiosity on my part. So, A&M says, the songs that they were putting out weren't up to snuff. You don't see or hear any of those songs, right, from
Right. So you have
that
to think,
period.
okay, so
So,
obviously Summertime Girls and Go for the Throat were two of them.
sure.
And
But
they cut a studio version of Go for the Throat, obviously with Kevin
for
Beamish,
Hearing
because it's
Aid,
got that,
yep.
yeah, but it also appeared as the B-side of All American Boy. Um,
Yeah, true.
which,
Yeah,
which that would have
true.
been first.
True.
So obviously they had that kicking around, but yeah, you're right. What else is there? Would say "Wild If I Wanna" be one of those songs, or was that
Yeah.
post
Yeah, that was
Down for the
later. I mean,
Count?
I
Yeah,
remember I went back through and kind of combed Unearthed 1 and 2, and there was nothing
yeah.
from 85 that are,
So the songs that Leonard was still playing on that are on those Unearthed albums were meant for the follow-up to Down for the Count had he stayed in the
correct.
band. So
Correct. That
that's
was the
Wild If I
earliest.
Wanna and Love Has No
Yes.
Cure and
Yes.
yeah, okay. but great
Yes.
songs too. And
Yeah.
it's like I don't think I think that A&M, well, it gets old after a while. I always say how they dropped the ball, but they dropped the ball. I mean, it's like
Sure.
if one A&M rep that was entrusted with calling the shots didn't hear that Summertime Girls had hit potential, whether you liked the song or not, you have to be able to. I would think if you're an A&R person, you can't say. I mean, if you really like it, that's great. But if you don't like it, can you look at it and go, well, look, I don't like it, but I could hear it on the radio. I could hear this being a hit. How could you not hear the pop appeal in Summertime Girls?
Yeah.
It's they served it to you on a silver platter. It's great harmonies. I'd like to know whose decision it was to have Claude Schnell from Dio come in and play those obnoxiously loud keyboards. Like they could have been farther back in the mix. I got no problem with the keyboards. It's
Yeah.
just
I
that
mean, it was, it was the time. It
as
was,
soon as that comes on, they're just like whap 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 whap, like they're just in your face. But you hear the live version, and that's not
yeah, yeah,
there,
live. Yeah.
and it's just
No.
a cool rock song, catchy, super
Yeah.
catchy.
I didn't have a problem with the keyboards at the time. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it wasn't Earthshaker. It wasn't Black Tiger. It
Yeah.
wasn't, Mean
But
Street.
like I said, that's where I always make the Van Halen comparison with
Sure.
Jump.
Yeah. 84. I mean, like, you're
It
like, what
didn't
is
seem it
this?
didn't seem to bother, the record buying
No,
public, right?
no.
Um,
But then another
so
misstep, I think, from A&M. Here you go. You got In Rock We Trust, which close to gold. I think
yep.
we all can agree it hit gold at some point.
Oh yeah.
Um, but you release it on LP, cassette, and CD in 84.
Right. Yes, good point. Good
Now
point.
here you go, LP, cassette, no CD.
Yeah. Yeah, that is strange to me, very strange and fascinating because usually by 1985, CDs had been out for I think 3 years at this point, or at
Yeah.
least manufactured. I don't remember myself. I don't remember seeing CDs in stores until late 1985. I can remember, and it wasn't even a record store. I remember seeing them in. It was a video rental place that had a small little section of CDs that all were hanging in the blister packs. And I can remember seeing, obviously, Brothers in Arms, Dire Straits. I
Yeah.
remember seeing ZZ Top, Afterburner. I
Yep.
remember seeing whatever the Simple Minds. I think it was called Once Upon a Time, the one with Alive and Kicking. I remember seeing that one. And so yeah, CDs were becoming, if you put an album out, this is a format it would come out on, and yet the last two albums on that A&M contract did not get domestic CDs. I didn't realize till years later that A&M in the States actually put out a CD of In Rock We Trust. Of course, then I had to track one down. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it is weird because it was, you know, obviously cassettes I think were probably for younger people were probably the preferred medium, but you did have those,
That's what I
maybe
got.
maybe the rich kids whose their parents had a CD player and they might have bought Open Fire on CD. Skipping ahead a little bit, if that's all right, I want to skip
Sure.
ahead to the unlikely saga of me finding this when I did.
All right.
So yeah, like I said, it was hard for me to find the Y&T albums. At the time, I was still buying cassettes. The first album, and I talked about this when we talked about Earthshaker, the first album I ever bought on CD that I had to send away for was Earthshaker.
Yep.
That was also the first album that I ever bought without having it on cassette first. Um, so that kind of speaks to how much I love this band. But I also I wanted to get what I could find of theirs on CD, which at the time was literally Contagious, 10, Best of, 81 to 85, and Yesterday and Today Live, and that was it. 1993, I found this. So this is the old Japanese
Yeah.
CD of Open Fire. So it looks like that, and then on the other side, it's Japanese characters.
Right.
Found this at a pawn shop in Maine, and it was actually my good friend Chad who found it for me. And he's not a Y&T fan, and he didn't know any of their albums. So he said, I was over in another part of the store, and he said, Tim, do you have Y&T Open Fire on CD? And I'm, no. I'm like, I don't have any of those A&M albums on. I'm like, what? So I ran over, and this was for sale for $5.
Nice.
And the only thing wrong with it
No Obi.
was there's no OB with it, but also it's one of those irritating times where somebody, whoever owned this, put it in the CD tray so that the little
Oh
nubs
yeah,
were
those.
pressing
Yeah,
against the booklet. But other than that, so it was the first time I saw any of these pictures.
right.
Um, and it also had this, so it had
Yeah, and the
the
album has the
lyrics.
same thing. Yep.
And what I really think is quaint is that it also translates Dave's stage rap. All right, something from yesterday and
Did
today.
today.
All
Yeah,
right, this is a
that's
new
right.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, and we do want to thank you people for coming out
Coming out
tonight and being
tonight,
as
being as loud
crazy
as
as
the
you
crazy as
are,
you are, and keeping
because
us
it's
going
keeping
out
us
here.
going out here. So we dedicate this to you. Yeah, I'm late to even translate the stage drops. It's and I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And for years, like other than Earthshaker, this was the only one of those A&M albums that I had on CD. It was just
Yeah.
so strange and obviously this was pre-internet, so whoever turned this CD in, at some point somebody had to spend $50 and
Oh yeah,
get
to get
this
that as an
imported in.
import. Yeah,
So how it
absolutely.
ended up at a pawn shop for $5 for me to get in my filthy little
Lucky
hands, I
you.
have no idea. Yeah, it was the weirdest. Now, my understanding, this isn't the easiest CD to get nowadays, this particular version, but I could be wrong about that.
Um, yeah, it's not too hard. It's a little expensive, but
I guess
especially
I
with
should
Adobe.
say,
But
I guess I should say a little expensive, and also it wasn't one of the albums that the band themselves reissued in 2005 themselves,
right. Do you have
because
the Hippo version right there?
I do.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
This to me is the definitive open
Yeah.
fire. This tells me what it might have been. It still has, So yeah, what's annoying about this, it's a little bit taller than your average
Correct.
CD,
Yes.
but yeah, Hippo was a division of Universal, much like Rhino was for Warner.
Warner. Yep.
And so there's this limited edition. It's got a gold stamp on here
Yep.
that says limited edition. They did this with a few albums,
Kind of like a
and
gatefold.
this actually, yeah, I like it. Actually, this is just a
Oh, no, that's right.
sleeve.
Yeah, that one wasn't a
Yeah,
gatefold.
but it came with this booklet, which again, reprints all of
Yep.
the
The inner
pictures that,
sleeve. Yeah.
yeah. The CD itself, this is the hardest thing to get into, but I'll open it. The CD itself is really cool because it looks like
The A&M label.
now it actually not at the time, at least the Canadian version I have here. What the heck is it? It's got that white,
Six box.
yeah, because eventually there was a black copy of that. It's the one where hang on a second. No, that's the UK one. The UK one has that version. If you know the
Yeah,
one I mean, the
the
white.
Germany, yeah, the Germany version has the white label with the six boxes. I call it a six box.
Yeah, yeah, and then there's also a black label that looks like that's the one that you said you found what Earthshaker on that I
Yeah,
was like,
so that
what?
was the
Really?
interesting one for Earthshaker. So
Yeah.
looking up on A&M's A&M has a history website,
Yeah.
and on their website they say that the first I can't remember the numbers. It was SP something or other, but it said starting
Right.
from this album forward, they switched to the black label, and that catalog number belongs to Richard Carpenter's solo album,
Okay.
but it was
Okay.
87.
Right. Oh, wow.
But I
Huh.
know that singles like Janet Jackson's Signal from Control from 86 had the black label. That was a
Oh,
45.
right, right.
Had the black label, which is
Okay.
US. So,
Yeah.
I always, I tried to make the connection to thought, well, you know, here's A&M putting out Open Fire, right? They got a couple tracks from Earthshaker. So let's re-release Earthshaker. So I was trying to make the connection to this is why this version
Yeah.
exists, but it's too late.
But sometimes they jump around
I mean, it could
with
still be.
catalog
They could have
numbers
had that
too.
label. Yeah.
Yeah. So really, I mean, it's for the most part you can kind of go if it's right next to another album that you know of, you're like, okay, well, this is when this must have come out because it's right
Yeah.
next to it numerically.
Yeah. So I mean,
Um,
I guess it's possible that
yeah.
that's the only thing that makes sense as to why to re-release it.
Yeah.
right?
But I mean, if they re-released it in '87, maybe that's because Contagious came
Hey,
out
just
on
came out
Geffen.
too. Yeah.
So,
So
so this deluxe version, the real draw behind this, I had never heard the live version of Summertime Girls before, and it was on the B side of countries' versions of
right.
the song.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
the
Overseas.
Japanese single has a live version of
Yep.
Forever,
Yep.
but it also has Black Tiger on it. So even on the deluxe, there's no songs from Mean Streaker and Rock We Trust. It's like you're killing me.
Yep.
But yeah, and then of course, to the I guess the PS to all this is like Down for the Count comes out in November of '85, and they stick Summertime Girls once again, the first song on side two, less it doesn't stick out as much on the studio album, but the
Now,
song had fallen off the charts, so I don't even know why they did it.
yeah,
Um, I don't.
hoping that it would spark some more sales, I guess, because yeah, it was dead by
Yeah.
November.
Well, then they put it in an album cover sleeve that's completely
Yeah, that
unrecognizable and
that's
there's
a
no
whole
logo
yeah.
on it. But that's another discussion.
Yeah,
But
you guys
yeah,
got
but
into that before.
yeah. But the open fire, yeah, it's an interesting like I mean, a couple of years ago, Metal Blade reissued Yesterday and Today Live. I mean, that was a pretty
Yes.
comprehensive. I mean, I love that album anyway. But I love the fact that what was it, Earthshaker and Rescue Me were on it, and
Yeah,
so
they added
obviously
the they
they
added
added
those
those two songs.
songs. Yeah.
That was so great to hear because it was the band as it was at that time. It would be nice to have a two CD version of Open Fire with, you
Yes.
know, obviously this was not. Maybe the reason they didn't call it live at the San Francisco Civic is because this was not one night's worth of shows. It was kind of all over the place. But
Well, I mean,
well,
if you read the liner notes on there too, it says recorded in London,
right,
and then the two shows at Palo Alto.
Palo Alto, yeah, and they were
So
like April '85.
yes,
So
April
you know
4th
if
and
you
5th of April of
so
85.
that so that the live at the San Francisco Civic. I figured this out at one point. I think it must have been recorded in September of '84 because before Dave does his solo, he mentions the anniversary of the passing of Jimi Hendrix.
Yes.
So it's like, well, that puts it at sometime in September of '84. Then that
Right.
concert would have happened. So I don't know. There's so many things. I mean, hey, why not put out another, you know, like, well, I mean, I guess they didn't have that many videos, but I don't know. It seems like they could have done something else. But I always say that A&M could have done something else. But um, I've always thought that the biggest tragedy is that Summertime Girls wasn't in. It was in the movie Real Genius, but that movie did
Yes.
not have a soundtrack, which is very strange. And I also know I remember somebody rented that movie. It was on I think at my grandmother's place. One of my cousins was watching it. And
Yeah.
here's what I remember about that. They played Bryan Adams' One Night Love Affair during some scene in the movie. And then
Yeah.
there's another part in that movie where they play a song by the Canadian band Paul Hyde and the Payolas. And I only bring that up is because those two acts and Y&T are all on A&M.
Yeah.
So why isn't there a soundtrack to this
Right.
movie on A&M Records? People liked it, the next best thing to having it tied to a studio album is having it on a big movie soundtrack that people
Soundtrack.
wanted to buy. So if that had been on like a really really big, can you
Yeah, that
imagine
could
if
have
that had
pushed it.
some can you imagine if that had somehow ended up on say the Back to the Future soundtrack or even something like that, or even like Weird Science. It would have
Yeah,
been.
I
It would.
I,
It's a
I
strange,
remember
strange
I
thing.
remember going to see that movie in the theater, and when that scene came on when they iced the whole area on there, and Summertime Girls comes on, I was like, that's Y&T. Holy
Yeah,
cow.
yeah. Now,
Y&T's in
why
the
is there
movie.
no soundtrack? I don't get it. Anyway, yeah,
Yeah, so you
it's
showed that kind of reissued CD. This is the kind of LP version of that.
very
So
cool.
this was released in 87. I did not know this existed a couple years ago. Uh,
Yeah,
because there was the Japanese versions in 85.
right.
But this came out late 86, and like your insert, right?
Yeah, same.
That same one there. And then, again, why I say 86, 87. It's got the black
Looks
belt.
like that, yeah. And that's what the when they put out the Forever best of in
Yes. Yeah.
'87, that's what it looks like on
Yep.
vinyl too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same label on there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I actually had to enter this into Discogs because it was not in
I
there.
hope you didn't get your thumb in the picture because that would have been bad.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like yeah, it's a curious thing. You don't you didn't think about it. I didn't think about it, and then years later you go, well, what a missed opportunity. And it's not as if it would have cost A&M a lot of money. Just pick better
No.
songs to put on. And why? Okay, they didn't want to do a double albums. Double albums cost twice as much. I get that. But why isn't there 12 songs? Why isn't there 6 songs on each side? Why is it
Yeah,
an eight
they could have
song
fit it on there.
album? Like even Mean Streak on one side and Don't Stop Running on the other. That could have
Yeah,
made a
that
difference. People like the familiarity if they're going to buy something. Oh, I also happen to know this song and this song bonus. I'm going to buy this.
well, I mean, and you guys, talked about that on the In Rock We Trust deep dive, but they were on American Bandstand, right? Playing
They,
Lipstick and Leather and
yep.
Don't Stop Running.
So, and a lot of people watched American Bandstand. So, yeah,
Absolutely. So you
yeah.
see those on the hype sticker as you're browsing, in the record store.
As seen on American Bandstand,
Good on
something
that
like that.
too, right?
Like for that matter, look, I wouldn't have even been mad if they'd have just stuck the studio versions on there again. Just to have something where people go, "Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Their
those
their
guys."
best selling album from you, and you don't do any live songs from it.
And you don't put it out on C. Like to me, that's like when the talk about eight tracks is when an artist their albums throughout the '80s they got them all on 8 track except for one in the middle. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like Sammy Hagar's VOA. They put out his '87 album on 8 track, but to my knowledge, there's no one VOA his most successful album. Why is that? I mean, we could get into the, why aren't there any
Yeah, why?
Y&T?
Yeah.
But but it's like, yeah, when you skip something like that, and it's like, are you? But did the In Rock We Trust CD come out when the album
On
came
release
out, or
date,
was
yes, yes. I double checked
okay?
out on the A&M website, and it has that listed with the catalog number. Same with the LP and cassette. So
Because
yeah, it was.
I know that there were cases in the early days of CD where, like, I know there's two completely different cases. Actually, they're both on MCA, but Triumph's Thunder 7 album. I think I've read this correctly. They actually put it out on CD first in an attempt to
Kind
push
of push the
the
format.
CD, which probably didn't work because
No,
not many people would have had. And conversely, Alice Cooper, when he signed to MCA and put out Constrictor in '86, that album came out in September of '86, but I don't think the CD came out until early '87.
yeah, probably.
So, but if A&M put,
No,
In
yeah,
Rock
it
We Trust out
was
on vinyl, cassette, and CD
same day,
in September
same
of,
day.
of '84,
Before, yep.
I think it was. Yeah, there's no excuse for
I,
them not to just keep doing that, especially if they've got a song that they really feel could be pushed.
yeah,
You
I think it
know?
wasn't it July '84 when Rock We
Oh
Trust?
yeah, no, yeah, you're right. You're right. I got September on
Yeah,
the brain, but
September is usually when I mean, especially like
uh,
Kiss fans, like
oh my goodness, Kiss, yeah, like, yeah.
every September is a new Kiss
Yeah,
album.
Rush put out a lot of albums in September
Yeah.
as well. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But I don't think we're the only band that was hit and miss whether they got domestic CDs or not. But
Yeah,
for
probably
the,
not. Again, I hey, look, here's the album that sold the most for you. I'm sure CDs contributed to that at some point.
yeah, yeah, that's true. When you think about it,
What,
in
just that and the fact that there's, none of those songs on that album live. It's just a swing and a miss.
yeah, yeah, like it's such a weird like yeah, that's real. The more I think about why are there only 8 songs on that is not that's why I call it almost an EP. Now it would be called an
Yeah, I mean, there's
EP.
usually 10 songs on an album anyway.
Yeah. And at that point, like, around '85, yeah, most songs had 5 songs on side
Yeah.
one, 5 on side 2. It got to be 6 and 6. Um, but 8 songs were just unless it was like prog and they were long songs, but they're not.
They're not.
So yeah, I mean, and like I said, it wouldn't have cost them any more to put a few extra songs on there. They could have charged the exact same amount
Yeah,
and
because they had them recorded. I mean,
put
you
them
know,
on the, yeah,
I can guarantee you those two shows in Palo Alto, they played Lipstick and Leather and Don't Stop Running. I can
they would have been
guarantee you.
staples. They would have been set with staples, and Mean Streak, since that song
Yes.
came out, it's probably been in every single Y&T set list.
Yes,
It was
ever
their
since it
first,
came out. Yep.
so just a very strange thing. Now you've got, so I look at the album and I just kind of grimace at it, but it's still, what's on it is really
I
good.
love it. I love it.
It's just that marketing wise, it could have been so much
As much as I
better.
complain now about it,
It
I
could have been
mean,
so much more, and it could have
yes,
done so
that's
much
the whole
more
point.
for this. Could have done so much more for
That's
this
the whole
band that,
point.
yeah. I
So
guess it
real
all just
quick
comes
here,
back around.
before we
Ooh,
end this thing. So this is
what do we
actually a
got?
Yugoslavia cassette. Oh,
Now there's a country I don't have anything from. That is
yeah.
really cool, and
So
that's
I
on
got the
A&M.
yep, A&M. There's an A&M logo.
Yeah. Okay, I see it. Yeah. That is
Yep.
interesting.
It's also on vinyl from Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
Um, which is funny because if you can see, you see the hype sticker.
Oh, they just Xeroxed it onto
They
there.
Xeroxed it, and that's the way it is on the LP too. And then of
Wow.
course I always like the
Yeah. Yeah.
UK with the, reminds me of the 45 singles.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what this cassette looks like that I found
Yeah.
from Holland, I think it was. And yeah, it's interesting too. I like the sleeve that the Japanese Summertime Girl single came in because it's just a blank
Yeah.
a
And then they
blank
got the
A&M sleeve.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so basically, folks, we like Open Fire. We just wish that
love Open Fire.
love Open Fire. I'm not going to kick on any of the music that's on it. It's just uh, we've we've said what
Yeah,
there
it's
is to
just
say.
again, I think it's just, it's an interesting period of time when, they're coming off their best-selling album for A&M, and what are they going to do? New studio album, no, live album instead. Some
It's
opportunities
almost
missed.
Yeah, it's almost like, see, for the first four albums on A&M, I mean, and they were really in one a year, bang, 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 bang. Really, other than marketing, there's nothing wrong with the presentation of any of those albums. But
No,
it's almost like once they became more successful within Rock We Trust, A&M really panicked. And, given the choice of one or two things, they chose the wrong option every time.
yeah.
It's just a very, very strange thing. I'd love to talk to someone. I'd love to talk to someone that worked at A&M back then and was a
Oh,
rep.
absolutely.
I'd love to pick their brain on that. And I'd love to think that there was somebody there that would say, look, guys, I tried so hard to push these guys. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, it just keeps coming back to that because, like I've said many times, why this band didn't break through, it has to be something because it's not the music.
No, it's definitely not the music.
Yeah.
Not the music. So, all right, guys. Well, that's our deep dive on Open Fire. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe down below, and we'll continue on with more Y&T albums in the future. Let me know in the comments if you like the idea of splitting these episodes up and showing vinyl on one side on one episode and more of a deep dive talk on the other. Tim, really appreciate you coming back on, and I was really looking forward to talking Open Fire with you, and did not
Yep.
disappoint. So,
We had a lot more to talk about with this little tiny little album than I
right?
thought.
Yeah, no, there's a lot there,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, all right, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Take care.